Hello, everybody. Hey, Sam, Trevor, Amber, Summer, Rachel. Hey, how is everybody doing? Um, it's doing this thing. I've got a LinkedIn user with a thumbs up. Ooh, but it doesn't tell me who you are. Live looks good.
Yeah, I found out why
Cute.
it does that. That's
Oh,
a
did
that's a
you?
setting. Yeah, that's a LinkedIn setting. It's somewhere under privacy or security, but
Oh,
it'll do that. Yeah.
yeah. So who is this? tell us who you are because I can't see you on this side. And we can circle back, like not during this, but like in DM me or something, and we can work out that setting. Because you're right, Daniel. And we actually had a conversation on one of Trevor's lives about this. Jay, what's up, man? Cool to see everybody here. I am coming to you on location from upstate New York. I am not in my normal environs. I did dig up a fern from outside so that I could still have a plant in the background. And I found my other sword up here, which is a whole different story for another time. But today I've got Daniel Wolfsong with me. For those of you who don't already know, Tilted Bitch is a live show I do every Wednesday at noon, talking to professional coaches about what they do, what the work is, why it's important. Daniel, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Why don't you kick us off by letting us know a little bit about what you do, what kind of coaching you do, and how you got into that?
Yeah, absolutely. And hi everyone. Thanks for coming in today. So I help entrepreneurs break what I call the struggle cycle that so often comes with entrepreneurship or being an ambitious person of procrastination, overwhelm, unrealized goals, perpetually unrealized goals, the goals that another year passes, another year, they don't come through. Um, and just the malaise and dissatisfaction, these things that come as we're on that success journey. And we activate a new cycle that is self-perpetuating and self-reinforcing of meaning, mastery, and magnificence. And we do it in 2 days.
That's so. Is the 2 days? Is that a program that you run, or is that basically the structure of the like one-on-one work that you do?
So the 2 day is kind of an intensive, and it's us one on one, and that's what I would say is activating the cycle, bringing the old one to a complete stop, activating the new one, and then from there it's the work. The work is ongoing, you know, and I love to show up for that work as well, as needed for support, accountability. We navigate obstacles and things like that, but the initial aspect of it happens in 2 days, and my clients within a week begin seeing the initial results. Within 3 months, life-changing transformations are being noticed, and that's level one.
Now, you and I have talked about this before, and you have a. I like the take that you have on entrepreneurialism and the journey that it is. You talk about it as something that it's about self mastery. Tell us a little bit about that philosophy and what you believe with that.
Yeah, so self-mastery is a topic I've been interested in for about 13 years now, and I noticed that entrepreneurship is a journey of self-mastery, even if we don't realize it at first. But when we think about it, it makes sense, right? So we're doing things that are uncomfortable. We're getting out of zones. We're learning how to do new things that we've never done before. We're getting better at communication. We're getting better at being self-aware. That's a huge part of being successful as an entrepreneur. And there's all these steps along the way that we're doing as entrepreneurs that really are essentially self-mastery. We just don't often look at it that way. And I began wondering, what if we just truly embraced that self-mastery journey, and let's see how far we can go with it. On that note, while we're building success, while we're doing the business thing, all the other realms of life that matter, and that's kind of where my work comes in. All of it can be something that we put a lot of awareness and attention into, and increase exponentially across all of life.
I know, I know for a lot of us, like it can be tempting to do this kind of segregation of business and professionalism and life, like your own kind of personal, mental, emotional, spiritual journey. Self mastery is very much a a struggle there for a lot of people. When I talked to Brian Berman several weeks ago, we were talking about coaching and what coaches do. And one of the things that we were exploring it is that coaches have to come in to help us see the things that we can't see ourselves. You know, we can lead ourselves, as he said, to a certain degree, but then there comes a point where we may not even know what questions to ask. Do you find that around self mastery, there are critical questions that just go unasked?
Oh gosh, yes. And I just want to acknowledge too, before I go into that, some of the comments coming in. Samantha, being comfortable with being uncomfortable is a total life hack, 1,000%. Right? It's the things we don't want to do, and I really like this. Self mastery is key from Yosemar. Control yourself. Right? It's the only thing we
I mean,
can't control.
it's like a keystone skill, right? To be able to look at, control yourself. Right?
Yeah, the Stoics say the only thing that we actually can control is what's happening in here. Everything else is out of our control. Therefore, we have no business trying to control it, right? Unless we want to suffer, which we often do. But yeah, the question, I think great questions can open tremendous doors, right? And I think one of the big questions on this note, when it comes to self mastery, is the one that goes something like, "What do I want my life to feel like?" You know, how often do we actually ask ourselves that question? That was a big one for me 10 years ago. What do I want my life to feel like? Because we get so focused on, well, here's the money I want to make, here's what I want my business to look like, here's the things that I want to have, the house, the car, all that. But we're not really tuning into that, the tone and the texture of our life. What does it feel like? With all this stuff being what it is, what's that feeling that's coming through that we get to enjoy in our life, I recommend people start with that one.
Do you have, and I was going to ask you a minute ago, do you have a specific type of client that you're looking for? Because I know that depending on who people are, depending on where we're at professionally and personally, there's different tones and textures that we're comfortable with, different kind of expectations we have for what we want our life to be. Do you try to find people that are at a certain point on the journey, or is there a certain client that really fits with you?
So yes and no. So there are certain, depending on where they are in their journey, our work can look a little bit different. What I've found is that those who are already they're already dialed into some level of success, right? So they're not at level one with entrepreneurship, even though I have clients who are at level one, right? And we're doing amazing work together. But those who have tuned into some level of success, and we look around, success is such an interesting beast, right? Because we get to this place where we thought we wanted to be, and it's like, all right, these goals are happening. This big thing that I wanted, I now have it. Um, Things are looking pretty good on the financial front, and that's opening all kinds of really cool doors. But why am I not happy? You know, why does my life feel like there's like I'm not I don't feel fulfilled? And then that can bring in all kinds of other things. We're spending so much time uh, building the business that we're not actually addressing our life. So I love playing in that playground of the those who are they've already experienced some success, and now it's about, now how do I enjoy this success? How do I make this feel successful? Which I think is probably the thing again. A lot of entrepreneurs don't really ask themselves, at least not often enough, right? Is how can I make my success feel successful and enjoy this versus it just being points being tallied up on a scorecard, or just this is the new normal and we're chasing something or pursuing something, running towards something, and we don't really even know what it is. It's some abstract concept that doesn't fill our tank, yet we keep chasing it.
That's so. First of all, point of procedures. Sorry, I had to throw up the chat overlay in the middle of you talking there. Amber pointed out that she couldn't see everything. So anybody who wasn't able to see comments, sorry about that. Sometimes I have it on, sometimes not, depending on what we need. So I hope everybody can see them now. Um, Daniel, I love that you are talking about this idea of what it feels like, of what sense you get in your life, because we do talk about happiness a lot, and we do talk about success a lot. I mean, just culturally. I mean, never minding specifically in business, especially for entrepreneurialism. We talk about this. The entrepreneurial journey for so many people is about bigger life goals and quality of life. So many people leave the 9 to 5 because they're chasing a way to make their life better, be it in terms of success, happiness, freedom, whatever it is that they identify as their core values. And I think a lot of us get distracted by numbers that we come up with, right? Like, I need to make this much a month. I need to have this many hours that I'm invested. If you're building a business, I need X amount of employees before I've made it. But that can distract you from spending the time with yourself, um, looking at and really trying to feel what it is that your life is and what you've created for yourself.
Mm. Because we're looking at everything through that lens of survival, right? I really like what Trevor said here. Chasing success is like chasing a carrot. Agree. I think it's often like a dog chasing a car. We don't know what to do with it once we get to once we catch it. You know. Um, so yes, yeah. The freedom is that big thing that you hear a lot of people talk about when we talk about entrepreneurship. Yeah, it's about freedom. It often doesn't feel like freedom. You know. Now I can say as someone who did once have a 9 to 5 and who went into entrepreneurship that there is a kind of freedom that definitely comes with it. You know, I'm not beholden to this commute or to this, usually, or to, hours that my boss has for me. So there is a measure of freedom that quickly becomes our baseline. So once we've experienced that freedom for a while, it kind of becomes our baseline. We get used to it, and then our brain is like, okay, what's next, right? And so we're building up the numbers again. We're survival based. It's like I want to make the money. I want to have the things that are going to make me feel secure, right? And I think it's great to focus on numbers. I think that's perfectly fine to have goals and to tangible goals that we can actually look at and say, okay, this is what I need to do to get to there. I think that's great. Um, but again, we don't ask ourselves once that does start happening or on the way to it, it becomes just a thing that we have to do. Where are we actually enjoying our success? Where are we enjoying the fruits of our labor, right? Beyond survival and beyond just the everyday luxuries that we can afford, you know? Freedom voiceover, Mel Gibson. Yeah, yeah,
Brian,
exactly. So,
I could hear that line from the movie now, from
yeah.
Braveheart.
And Samantha, success is no longer a destination, it's the whole journey. That's exactly it, right? Samantha, that's exactly it. We have to look at this as how today looks is important, not just how I imagine tomorrow is going to look. And that's a cornerstone of the work that I do with my people is how can we make today feel like it matters. It's great to have goals. I love goals. I love a good goal, and I've got lots of them. you know on the way there, we can't be in this waiting room, but we so often are. How often, like, how familiar does this sound to anyone listening? I haven't gotten around to my reading list. My reading list is a mile high, right? Oh yeah, one day I want to start doing whatever, yoga, jujitsu, you name it. I'm going to start that one day. You know, oh, my relationships. I'm not spending as much time with my family as I want to, but you know, all these things, and we look at that. That is so normal in our culture now, in Western culture. That is normal, but it's not good. It's not serving us, and that's why we don't feel fulfilled. You know.
When you work with people on this, I mean, you're right. Like, I feel this in my life all the time, that it's okay. Well, I need to get to a point where I can, pursue the hobbies, pursue the time with. I have small kids right now, right? Pursue the time with my kids, but simultaneously, like, this time is very fleeting, and every day is fleeting. You only get that day once. When you're working with your clients, what's the process like when you're trying to work on cultivating awareness around that present moment?
Yeah. So the very beginning to get things sort of kicked off, activating that new cycle I was talking about earlier, is really taking inventory. And for me, taking inventory is not okay, check, check, check. It's we're cleaning out the closet. We're opening the closet up, we're taking everything out and really looking at what am I doing in my life now that's bringing me fulfillment? What am I not doing that's not bringing me fulfillment? What do I want? What do I desire? What am I doing that I hate? doing? Why am I doing that? Right? Sometimes there's a good reason for it. Sometimes there's really not. Um, Bad habits. What are the good habits that I want to initiate? What are the bad habits that I want to deactivate? Right. So we have to start there. And I have a background in branding. That was my previous business, branding and web design. And I sort of take a similar approach as I did to that, which is we got to start super foundational, right? We can't start at the big stuff. We really have to start at that super foundational level of what would if my life were did have more meaning in it, right? And that's ultimately what we want. I think we want it to matter. We want to feel like this all means something, and I'm enjoying it. You know, um, what would be the things that into my life that would bring more meaning, that would bring more magnificence into my life? What do I want to pursue? On a personal level, because so much of it, I'm not here to make people more successful as an entrepreneur. I think that can be a byproduct of the work that we do. But a lot of this is while we're doing the entrepreneurial journey, what our personal life looks like, you know, how we're showing up to all the other realms of life. We forget entrepreneurship because our business is living in like the center of our living room, right? But there's so much more to life that shouldn't just be, oh, when I have time, when I get to it. Did I answer your question? I might have trailed
Well, we went to some good places. I mean, this is part of what you're after with this kind of the one too, right? That it's a singularity. It's an integrated personhood that we're after, where you are a whole person and you are the one person doing all of these things, not just the entrepreneurial section of your life. We have this
yeah.
this idea that we need to compartmentalize our life too. Like that's dangerous, right?
Yeah, so that's another thing I'm really fascinated with, So I have this idea of it's kind of a future me. It's a future me. It's sort of an ideal me, a higher me, who I call the one. And we all have this. We all have this one, and this is also a part of an experiential aspect of the work I do with my people. The first thing we do is we meet the one, and we have a dialogue with them, and we get really intimate with them. And this is about like who is that north star, right? That north star that I can aspire to and sort of ultimately embody and become. It's like we never, like our north star, we never actually get to it. We're always following it, but we know we're going in the right direction. um, that's the one. It's who's that person, that version of you who is beckoning you. This is who we are. This is who we want to be. This is what we want in our life. This is the our bigness, right? This is our vast expression of ourselves. So we get to know them, and then it's figuring out, what does that person do? That one, how do they live life? How do they move in the world? How do they breathe? How do they pray? How do they speak? What are they doing on a day to day? What are their rituals? And all this is, I think, tantamount to creating a life that's all, across all realms. Because I'm not big on work life balance. I don't think we know how to balance work and life, especially as entrepreneurs. We just don't know how. Our business is too integrated into our life to really balance things out. And what does it mean, balance? Balance is a struggle, right? Balance is, I'm trying to do this. I'm more interested in, how can I make sure first that the things that really matter, that I'm making the space for those, and then everything else will fall into line. And I'll tell you, I don't want to get too far off track here, but my sobriety journey really really taught me this when I began my sobriety journey 4 years ago, which wasn't for me. It wasn't about, I can no longer drink, right? For me, it was more about, how can I create a life that no longer has room for the drinking and the blackouts and the hangovers, right? That's what I'm attempting to do for myself and with my people when it comes to this work. So there's no need for balance. Everything is kind of finding its natural, harmonious space in our lives. I'm
So
looking
I
at some of the
the,
comments.
I know we're having this happens almost every week. Like you guys in the comments, you guys are like, I mean, Daniel, there are like such thinkers. I'm like, I see these comments, and I'm like, oh man, like there's another like whole huge rabbit hole to go down.
There it
And
is. Oh, yes,
there's
I
so
live in
many of
rabbit.
them here. I
Mhm.
this idea of balance makes me think about. So I'm up here we're staying with my in-laws. We're on vacation of July, so we took the kids out. We went to listen to live music music on the beach. We went for ice cream, all this stuff. Well, some of the kids, we've got a couple of 7-year-olds. There's a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old. It's a long walk from the beach to the ice cream shop, this, that, the other. Well, on the way back, we get into this conversation, as kids often do, about fairness, right? And it's, oh, it's not fair that they get to ride in the wagon and I don't get to ride in the wagon. And when you're young, and some of us, even when we grow up, it takes a long time to catch this, that like fair doesn't always mean balanced. Like balance isn't always the highest goal. We get this idea that things need to be equal, right? And this is one of the things with the girls that like we need to understand that like fair doesn't always mean equal. It doesn't always mean the same. People think work-life balance means this tray lines up exactly with this tray and I'm spending X hours here and Y hours here and X equals Y. They don't always have to equal. And I think for entrepreneurs, especially, you see this thing where there's this struggle to separate and balance, but you can't always put them in two separate trays because they become the same thing.
Spot on. Exactly. Yeah. Paul says, I believe that balance is a myth. It's a buzzword. Exactly. Again, when people don't really know what balance is, and I think it's again, it's too much of a struggle. So when I think of, I call this the struggle cycle, right? But the entrepreneurial struggle, essentially, in my mind, comes from one of three things. Usually, we're struggling as entrepreneurs. Once we've got, once we're no longer, when the business is popping, right, and that's going well, we're typically struggling with three things. One of them is we're not making space in our life for all the things that matter to us. So what does that lead to? Burnout, resentment, right? If you've ever gotten to a place in your business where you're starting to resent your clients, this is why. You have not made space in your life for the things that matter. And there could be some bigger problems in your business too. But another one of the number two thing is we're not feeling rewarded often enough. You know, how common is this? I feel good, I feel rewarded when I get a big sale. I get a new client, right? I feel rewarded when I meet a big revenue goal. That's too infrequent. That is way too infrequent. So we're not feeling rewarded often enough. So again, it's feeling like a slog. It's feeling like too much, it's feeling heavy. And the number three is we're not achieving our goals. And we're not achieving our goals, and our goals could be business, they can also be personal, because there's overwhelm. We're procrastinating them. The cycle of suck, as I like to call it, the cycle of procrastination, overwhelm, inaction, it builds and builds and builds, and we keep putting these things off. And listen, procrastination is not just, oh hey, I've got this big thing that I've got to do for our client and I don't feel like doing it today. It's not just that. Procrastination is also, that there's a book I've been wanting to read for 2 years now that I keep not reading because I just don't have time for it, which is that's a big one for me. Time, we've got the time. What we lack is priority, right? So, so procrastination, which, then we have the overwhelm that leads to. It all starts feeling too big. Then we don't want to do it at all, right? So, yeah, the cycle of suck. Yes, thank you, Samantha. That's what it does feel like. And again, a lot of this is just getting really, really clear on what's important to me. How can I enact the daily habits to get to that, right? And who do I need to be? I'm a big proponent of the being has the doing that we need to do to get to where we want to go, achieve our goals. It starts with the being. And that's a big one that we leave out really often. Is we didn't get clear on who do I have to be to do this? And that's the one, right? Getting clear with the one, communing with them, kind of integrating them slowly so that now the doing follows the being. And then that reinforces the being, because it starts as an idea, but it only becomes truly embodied with the doing. So the being and the doing have this really cool self-reinforcing relationship with each other. We're just going all over the place today. I don't know where that came from. So.
No, yeah. I mean, that's so, guys. We're starting to get there, right? We got like 4.5 minutes left, and I'm sitting listening to it. I'm like, how hard do we pull on this thread? Because time is going to run down. But there's a struggle for so much of us, but between thinking about what we do and who we are, right? Like I heard, this was years ago when I was in like college. There was a professor telling a story about someone who was asked, I can't remember who it was, but was asked at a party, right? The way you do, oh, what do you do for a living? And instead of replying, well, I'm an engineer, he was like, well, I do father, I do husband, I do golfer, I do, right? Because there's a lot of things that we do. We're not summed up by our profession, but we're also not summed up by our actions. But those actions do integrate and feed into who we are. The being and the doing are connected. Um, when you're talking with clients, do you spend a lot of time talking about kind of the personal rituals that we have, the things that we do that help build that cycle with intentionality?
Yes, big time. Because I take a little bit of a different view. I do believe that everything that we are is action based, right? I can think in my mind, this is who I am or what I am. None of it matters if there's no action to back it up of some sort or something that's, something that is making that true. You know, it doesn't mean that we have to, well, I won't go out too far off that, but I think that speaks for itself. So yeah, everything can be related to what is the actually happening in my life that makes this true, and that's what we want to pay attention to. Ritual, I'm big on ritual because ritual links us into something that is bigger than our everyday life. Sometimes it's even bigger than us, depending on what we're doing, how we're doing it. But I think it also tunes us in to the this aspect of, I think of it, this is a human thing. It's just built into our DNA of tuning into routine and doing things in a specific way, right? Sometimes in a specific order, but these are the things, and it can be something that's spiritual, it can be sacred. I have a ritual out of making my bed every day. I make a little ritual out of it, and I'm very mindful while I'm doing it. There's a lot of things like that that I'm really big on because, again, it's tuning us into the moment, right? I'm here, I'm present. I'm no longer rushing through my life to get to doing what again? That thing that we're chasing that we don't know what it is, that carrot, that car, right? The car, like chasing it like a dog. We don't know where we're getting to. Let's be here in the moment with these things. And all of this comes, like I said, we got to start with the inventory. It can be very sporadic and spotty if we attempt to do this kind of piecemeal. That's why I like to do it all like holistically and start foundationally. But yeah, that's a big one. There are so many good comments. I want to stop talking just so I can read all these. But you
I
guys
know
are
it always happens
amazing.
that I've got to like go back after the show and like read through. I try and keep up with them as we go, but
Yeah.
it's man, these guys are good. So Daniel, tell us, since we're getting here at the end, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Right now, reach me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a connection request if we're not connected. Leave me a little note so I know what the deal is, how you found me, and what we might have in common. That's the best way. You can also visit my website, danielwolfsong.com. I'm rebuilding that, so there's not much to look at right now. But yeah, I love having conversations with folks. So hit me up.
Awesome. I am going to ask you to give us a final kind of nugget of wisdom, a takeaway, something you want us to remember. I'm going to let you have the whole screen for this. So you guys, I'm going to turn off the chat overlay, and Daniel, I'm going to let you have it, and then I'll come back and we'll close out.
Thank you. Everything that you want, everything that you want is on the other side of a daily habit and a way of being. Start small. Start ridiculously small. And that's a problem that we often have as high achievers or, ambitious entrepreneurs. We want to start big, right? Start small. It's okay to do it small. It's okay to start small, shaky, awkward, weird. Right? Because starting small is the only way I've ever seen to truly go far.
As is often the case with these moments in the show, I needed to hear that too. So thank you. it's
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you in the comments. It's always so great to see all these names. A few of you I don't see every time, but I'm glad when you show up. And those of you who are here for the first time, like, thanks. Next week, we'll be back at it. I hope everybody has a good Wednesday. Daniel, thank you again so much for being here. I appreciate you.